Welcome in to another new episode of the Coatings Pro interview series. I'm your host, Ben Dubose, and I'm a staff writer with Coatings Pro. In this special episode, we're sharing another peek into one of our new features of the magazine in 2021, which is showcase profiles of longtime members of SSPC and/or NACE. We're doing this to highlight the integration of SSPC, the Society for Protective Coatings, and NACE International, and to spotlight how the new combined organization known as AMP, the Association for Materials Protection and Performance, can best serve the coatings industry moving forward. Today, I'm joined by Niles Hickman, Global Product Marketing Manager for EcoQuip blasting equipment and protective coatings equipment at Graco. In today's show, we'll be discussing some of his company's keys to success and really what they see as priorities for AMP and the broader coatings industry in the months and years ahead. Niles, I think a good place to start would be if you could just give our listeners your bio, I suppose a little bit about your career history, how you got to your current role, again, Global Product Marketing Manager, and tell everyone a little bit about your current role within Graco these days.
Sounds great, and thank you so much, Ben, for having me today. As Ben mentioned, my name is Niles Hickman, the Global Product Manager for Graco here on the protective coatings and surface prep equipment. I started as an engineer going on about 5 years now. 5 years ago, I started as an engineer and primarily was introduced to foam and polyurea equipment, and then got exposure as well into new product development for the surface prep equipment. And at about the 3.5, 4-year mark, I jumped over to product management and have been doing that ever since. Initially was assigned the single leg protective coatings equipment and surface prep, and then was promoted, and now I'm in charge of all protective coatings to include the 2K or plural equipment, being the XP and XM, as well as the passive fire protection equipment, or the PFP equipment. And that's what brings us to today.
Yeah, and I find that really interesting because I think a lot of people, when they hear marketing manager, they assume that it's someone that in many cases came up through the communication side of the business and sort of learned the technology as they went, but sort of at their core, they're a communications professional. With you having the engineering background, that's a little bit different. Why did you want to transition to, the more marketing side? And I suppose, the perk of being on the marketing side is that you can reach a lot more people in terms of your influence and the ways in which you can get some of these technologies out to the broader industry. But what was it in your engineering background that sort of pushed you in that direction?
I would definitely say the people and just the thirst for knowledge. I mean, This is a pretty fascinating and diverse type of industry. There's so many different niches and different places that people can fit in within this industry. And I guess getting out on job sites as an engineer, whether it be new product development or trying to troubleshoot a challenge that someone's maybe having with a particular material or application, being afforded the opportunity to go out as a Graco engineer and get your feet wet, I guess, as a newer engineer, and then as you climb the ranks and really understand to think and see the opportunities at bay in the contractor's eyes, that really turned my eyes to, hey, what are these product managers over here doing, and getting to know the team that was in play at the time, and understanding how they'll travel and build these relationships with members of the industry, and really learn how to take the screwdriver that's maybe being used as a chisel today and figure out how do we transition that tool to better suit today's challenges tomorrow. And that's really what product management is at Graco, and I think in some regards to your comment, that is kind of what makes Graco special, is we do see a lot of that career progression from more engineering or technical role over to the product management or marketing management sides of the equation. So
another introductory question along those lines, just from a 30,000 foot view, how does Graco serve the coatings industry? I think, I mentioned leading off your roles within the EcoQuip blasting equipment and, of course, the general protective coatings equipment. But what does Graco do for the coatings industry, and what's the relationship between Graco and coatings contractors?
Sure, absolutely. So, as you stated, we are primarily an equipment manufacturer. We manufacture the equipment from, raw bar stock or raw components. We will design and then manufacture and assemble and sell our equipment through our distribution channel. And a lot of that channel is traditional distributors who are simply service and sales. Some sell chemical, some are chemical manufacturers. And so having those relationships with not only the end user who's obviously going to use the equipment to make a livelihood, but also the chemical manufacturers that are constantly trying to advance the industry by coming up with maybe more specialized materials for different applications. We're able to kind of glue those together in a trifecta, as I like to look at it, where we'll make the equipment, a chemical manufacturer will make the coating, and now we have a contractor that has to apply that coating, and hopefully we're able to provide the correct equipment that provides them success.
You've mentioned relationships a few times, and I think a big part of what you all do at Graco inherently involves feedback that you get from contractors regarding what their needs are and what their challenges are out in the field. So the last few months, the last few years, are there any common themes when you talk to these coatings contractors? Are there any certain pain points, troublesome aspects of a job? What are the things that when the contractors are talking to you as an equipment manufacturer that they're really telling you that they need, and thus I'm assuming that you're keeping in mind as you develop these new products or updates to your existing products?
Absolutely. I would say that, the old adage of people buy from people, it has never been more true. The industry's advancements, seeing a transition of coatings going to higher and higher solids contents for environmental reasons and just performance reasons in general, has really pushed the operator's knowledge basis, the ability to do proper surface preparation and follow all the procedures, to have the right equation to have a successful coating going into the future. It brings with it an inherent bit of knowledge, really, and training. And if there's anything true to the workforce, it's that the entry level knowledge, or I should say the knowledge of the median holder in the industry is dropping. We're seeing faster turnover in certain positions, especially ones that are labor intensive. There's not as much of a desire for individuals to go into careers there, and so trying to make that laborious or challenging job easier has always been a focal point, right? We don't want to give anyone a tool that makes it harder to do their job, but we sure don't want to hand over a mad scientist lab experiment looking machine and tell somebody, well, this is entry level, so there's always that challenge to make the machine or make the equipment simple enough that you're easily trained on how to safely operate, but keep it sophisticated enough that it can handle or successfully, spray those more challenging coatings.
So with regards to the technology specifically, what's really driving the industry, or what's at the forefront in 2021? What's different relative to 5, 10, 15 years ago? What is something in 2021, or I suppose it can be more than one thing because we want to talk about trends here, but just from a technical standpoint, what are some of the things within equipment that are different now relative to the past?
So I would say a large focus for Graco is the transition from pneumatics to electrics. We've put an emphasis on this both in our contractor division, where we are targeting more of the house painter or the residential light commercial, and now the advancements of electronics, getting more capable drivers, which are replacing the pneumatic air motor, getting those higher performance drivers at a more reasonable price has allowed us to launch the King E Series, and that came about in April. We launched that globally. That's a series of single leg pumps that are powered by 240 volt or 120 volt and can come in both hazardous location and ordinary location. The hazardous location, we have a 50 and a 60 to 1 equivalent, and a ordinary location, we have a 60 and a 70 to 1 equivalent to the pneumatics. And I guess that was something that we never had the capability of with our old drivers in the E Extreme family. So I guess getting that transition from pneumatic to electric and seeing the performance and the capability now to be spraying higher solids content coatings in a small portable package that you can simply plug into the wall or plug into a small generator is really kind of transforming, I guess, how the industry may have looked at, prep and protect. You got to blast it and then you got to coat it. And when we're done blasting, just leave that compressor on, because we're going to hook air right into our pneumatic pumps. Now, the contractor can look at that equation and say, well, wait a minute, my large compressor that's, consuming this amount of diesel every hour, that can just be now married only or solely to the blasting equipment. And I can actually downsize my fuel consumption, the noise on a job site, and increase the portability or versatility of my operation by divorcing that all pneumatic can stay with the preparation of the substrate, and electric or a gen set can be now paired with my coatings equipment, and we can run individually, with those.
That's Niles Hickman, Global Product Marketing Manager at Graco. My name is Ben Dubose, staff writer with Coatings Pro Magazine. This is our ongoing series of showcase profiles, in which today we're speaking, of course, with Niles Hickman of Graco, talking about how Graco serves the coatings industry. And in the bigger picture, what we're doing with these showcase profiles is spotlighting how our longtime members of SSPC and or NACE have benefited from those affiliations, and of course talk about what we can do moving forward with the Combined Association for Materials Protection and Performance, better known as AMP. Niles, I think on the subject of SSPC and NACE, there's a lot of areas of the organization that can potentially be a benefit to you or Graco, certainly education, certifications, conferences. There's a number of offerings from these types of associations. How would you say that SSPC and or NACE have helped you and or the company over the years? What are some of the ways that the associations have worked to your benefit?
Yeah, I would say that my initial introductory to the organizations were through the trade shows, and being an engineer, maybe seeing things a little differently than now as a product manager, and actually going out and meeting some of the industry leaders in all the different facets, and starting to truly understand how everyone has a cog, if you will, and how we all come together synergistically to get to the final end goal for the asset owner in having a successful coating applied. That mixed with, I guess, for others within my company, you talk about the different levels of certification that one can get, and the knowledge that comes from that, that type of education, if you will.
Hmm.
That's definitely something that I look to get going forward as I see the benefits and the more full understanding of the opportunities or challenges at hand in the industry, and how that can definitely change how you come at or partake, I guess, in certain conversations. So I would definitely say our more senior members on our team, having those, level 2, level 3 certs, they definitely have that more refined lens towards the industry that I just don't think you can get without it.
Yeah, and that's what I would think. Looking at Graco, you manufacture all of these types of complex pieces of equipment, but really the equipment is only as good as the knowledge of the person using it. And many times, the education, the certifications, those speak to, well, certainly a level of baseline intelligence, but also some of these things sort of give the user a more holistic perspective of how everything works together. And I would guess that that makes them much more efficient users of your equipment. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you can speak the pump speak, well,
Mhm.
that probably makes you one in the conversation. But if you can speak the language of the contractor and be in their shoes and understand the opportunity that they have at hand with the job in front of them, and then also understand, hey, that's the coding. Okay, now I bring my pump speak into the mix, and we can have a holistic conversation about how we're going to go about, finding success.
For someone that's entering the industry as a relative newcomer, or perhaps your group or company that is, how can they use an association like SSPC or NACE, or, well, I suppose AMP now? How can they use that to advance their career? What's some of your advice to someone who, is in your shoes from a few years ago and is really trying to get a foothold in this industry?
I would say knowledge. If you can just keep learning, there are so many facets to this industry that knowledge, from a quality organization like SSPC, NACE, now AMP, that knowledge can really differentiate you from being just good at your job to truly being a master within your trade. And as that industry continues to evolve and the target is continually moving, you'll be able to engage and keep up on what is happening and why, and truly be able to take that knowledge back and be a more effective team member in whatever facet that you provide.
Absolutely. And I'll throw in a plug before we sign off. We've got Coatings Plus coming up in December. We've got the first AMP annual conference next March. So if anyone new to the industry is listening to this, then yes, there's definitely some places where you can start to get involved. If you are interested in learning more, amp.org will have some information for you. Niles, before we go, where can people go to get more information from Graco? Basically, you can toss out your social media, a website, anything that you want to plug that a listener could potentially use to get started accessing more info from you guys.
Absolutely. So Graco.com is a fantastic resource. It's ever evolving. I mean, we have not only, the product on there, but we also have a ton of resource, being that in what we call the articles and solutions. There's a ton of research data and third-party testing and et cetera that we have done on our equipment in different applications. Applications maybe you are or aren't as knowledgeable about. There's just a plethora of information out there to read up on and see how this breadth of product offering is used throughout the world. We also have a couple of YouTube channels surrounding protective coating sprayers as well as our blasting equipment.
Sounds great. Folks, that's where we will leave things on today's episode. And remember, if you want more information on our end of things, of course, there's the AMP website that I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago at ampp.org. And you can also visit coatingspromag.com for all sorts of news related to protective coatings. That's coatingspromag.com, the official website of Coatings Pro Magazine. With that, we'll sign off. For Niles Hickman, I'm Ben Dubose. Thanks as always for listening, and please come back soon for another new podcast from the Coatings Pro interview series.
This message comes to you from Coatings Pro Magazine, the official media publication for Coatings Plus. Join us for this exciting final year of Coatings Plus, happening from December 13 to 16, 2021. Coatings Plus is a jam-packed event with expert-led protective, marine, and industrial coatings programming, as well as technical sessions and workshops focused on surface preparation, application, coating formulation, testing, inspection, and green coating solutions. Visit sspc.org/coatings-2021 for more information. We can't wait to see you there.